Welcome to another episode of Kaiju Talks. This is Jared.
This is Carter.
Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit, I always say a little bit different, but this one is
film-related stuff, basically.
Film-related in the industry, I guess. Today we're going to be talking about Netflix and their...
Everyone's used-to-be favorite streaming service.
Basically. Where are they going? I guess is the best kind of, or I'm not really sure.
Like, what's the future of Netflix is sort of the question, right? Because
it's very strange. Like, when, no pun intended, but when they brought on the show Stranger Things, I thought that the Netflix was going to be kind of like the best service to be able to view.
Well, and for a while, I mean, they were the king, right? Like, they were the first ones to really get into streaming and stuff, and they had, I remember like 10 years ago, they had like South Park and Simpsons and King of the Hill, all that stuff was on Netflix, and now it's, gone off to Disney and all other places. But yeah, and then they started doing their own stuff, and yeah, Stranger Things has been really good. It's been their best show so far, I think.
They're on going into their final season, but now that their final season is going to be out soon, and that's going to be it for that, like, the problem I'm seeing is lately they've been on a cancellation spree. Recently, I just found out their show they released this past January, Lockwood & Co., based on that young adult fantasy horror book series, was just released. It looked like it got good reviews, and I was going to watch it, but then I found out that they canceled it, and I'm like, well, I'm not even going to bother because... it's like, why would I want to watch a show that was canceled after after one season, especially if it's going to end on a cliffhanger, right?
Does it?
I don't know.
No.
That's what I'm assuming it probably does. Maybe I will watch it just out of curiosity.
Yeah, you gotta find out. You gotta watch it to find out if it ends on the cliffhanger or not. If you'd be eternally disappointed that you'll never know the answer of how the show ends.
Very true. But like with other shows, like I watched Santa Clarita Diet, which was that black comedy.
But cannibals or something?
Zombie comedy.
Oh, zombie. I remember seeing the trailer with Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod. That's as much as I know about that show. But
it was it was funny. I was excited to see at the end of season 3. Mind you, I wasn't really up to speed by the time what was happening behind the scenes. And then when we finally got to season 3 in the last episode, I decided, I can't wait to see what's going to happen in season 4 because it ends on a cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah.
And then I look, it's been canceled, and I'm like. And from Netflix, what Netflix is saying, it's because it wasn't enough viewership, but. Is that really 100%?
I mean, you have to assume it's got to be a financial thing, right? You have to assume that it's like that. Obviously, they have the numbers on their end in terms of viewership, and that they're just finding that the amount of money we're spending on it doesn't, like, the average cost per view or whatever is too high or whatever it is, and that it's just not worth producing that show anymore.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I was going to bring this up. So it's just like when Netflix decided they were going to produce the series The Dark Crystal, right, and.
Which it was very good, by the way.
It was very good. It won an Emmy, and then the next Emmy? We're going to
TV one.
The TV award. They cancel it the day after they won the award. And,
really?
Yeah, and it's funny because
I didn't know it was the day after. I knew it got canceled.
They don't give you a reason.
Did it actually get canceled? Like, did they ever say they're going to do a second season? Because it wraps up pretty tightly at the end of that season. Right?
Actually, they were planning on doing a second season. They had They had the script. They had everything ready, according to the Jim Henson Company. Was ready to go. And they were waiting, and then Netflix canceled it. But get this. I was reading an article trying to figure out all the information of why they canceled it, right? Because all I can think is there's no way this has to do with viewership. Like, the show, when it came out, everyone I knew was like raving about or talking about it. Regardless if they liked it or not, people were still watching it. So all I could think was, why though? So apparently in an article, now again, I don't know if maybe this is 100% true. Maybe this is just bitterness from the Jim Henson Company towards Netflix. We don't really know, but apparently this is what it was. Netflix said they would take on the series if they filmed it how they did the originally, where it was puppetry and special effects combined.
Oh, okay.
And there, it was kind of like, hey, well, do you know how much this is going to cost then? And
so Netflix didn't realize that the cost to do a puppet show,
yeah, Netflix,
which is like obviously going to be really high.
and Netflix was just then after it's just like then they realized Netflix couldn't afford another second season probably, so they had to cancel it. I'm like, okay, so that's Netflix's fault. They shot themselves in the foot over that.
Yeah, you'd think that before you start funding something, you'd kind of put together a budget and realize how much it's going to cost you to make it. Like, you think about all those sets, because they would have to build all the sets, they would have to build all the puppets, and then, that sort of style of filmmaking is not really something that's done too often anymore, so the cost to doing that is... And that's like the same with those guys when they did Team America. They were like, we did this puppet movie, we didn't realize how much it was going to cost, how much of a pain in the ass it was going to be. Like, they almost walked away from it, I think, from what I understand.
So it's just, in my personal opinion, it's just Netflix seems to be jumping the gun a lot.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the problem, is that they go into these shows not exactly realizing, holy shit, this is how much we spent on this one season alone. We can't do this a second season.
And I think also that I feel like with Netflix, they're sort of taking like a shotgun approach where they're just making a whole ton of shows and they're trying to see what's going to stick, what is the audience going to like, instead of just trying to do a more direct approach and sort of figure out what the target audience is, figure out what people want, and then make that, right? They're just like, there's all these shows that are Netflix, you go on the Netflix website or whatever the app, and so many Netflix original shows, and it's like, half of them are just like, this kind of looks like garbage. Like, what is this?
Well, when they did Stranger Things, that was like the first attempt they did to a Netflix original.
No, well,
perhaps?
for TV show maybe. I know they had a lot of Netflix original movies before that. Like, there's a ton of original movies.
Yeah, sorry, I meant like in series terms.
Okay, we're talking series. Okay. And it might have been. I don't know for sure, but
I don't want to get into the movies. No, normally the Netflix movies just garbage. Normally,
yeah, they're hit and miss. There's some that are good.
But when they attempted doing their own original series, Stranger Things was it, and they were kind of wondering. I think maybe it's like since then they've been trying to see, what can we do? What can we do to top this one? But they haven't been able to. It seems because they keep canceling their any attempt to do it, and it's just like. And this is what I honestly believe is that once Stranger Things is done, people might stop going on Netflix, because I think maybe that's why people are sticking with Netflix for so long. They want to see this show.
I gotta be honest, the only thing I've watched on Netflix recently has been Stranger Things. Like, I'll occasionally, if I'm looking for something to watch and there's nothing good on Disney Plus, or I've watched all the Star Wars stuff, I'll head over to Netflix and just see what sort of like documentary stuff they have. Maybe I'll watch like a documentary. But I haven't watched like a Netflix original drama or whatever TV show, something like that, in a long time, other than Stranger Things. That's the only one I've really sort of followed.
Myself, I'm seeing a lot of people leaving Netflix, like slowly kind of leaving Netflix. Yeah.
I mean, I still have it.
Well, yeah, but like, I'm not saying
Stranger Things is not done yet.
I know, but I'm not saying everyone, but like a lot. I'm noticing a lot of people that I know are starting to like get off it, because it's just kind of like. This is going to be it once Stranger Things is done. I honestly believe when Stranger Things is done, give it maybe 2-3 years, then Disney Plus is just going to buy out Netflix.
Well, we'll see. The problem is, though, like, when Netflix started, they had access to like all these great TV shows and movies and stuff, and then as others, and this is something I kind of sort of like was predicted years ago. I don't want to call myself a futurist, but I saw it when Netflix first came out. I was like, what's going to happen eventually is every TV station is just, or every TV channel production company is just going to have their own streaming service. Now you're seeing it. So you got like Hulu, Paramount, Disney Plus, like whatever. Well, I guess Fox is part of Disney, but they all have their own streaming services, right? So it's like eventually, once all those IPs, sort of the license to Netflix ended, they just kind of went back to the original owners. Like, that's why like all these shows on Disney are starting to pop up, like all these Fox shows, because whatever other streaming services have the licenses, as the licenses end, Disney's just like, well, that's our show again. Here it is on Disney Plus now, right? And so Netflix's strongest thing years ago was the fact that it had like South Park, Simpsons, King of the Hill, Family Guy, all that stuff. It might still have Family Guy, but you know what I mean? Like the strong thing was it had all these shows that people want to watch, that people knew, that people love, and the new seasons were coming out like in real time on Netflix. And now they don't have that. They've invested so much in their own content, and some of it's good, some of it's bad. But it's exactly. It's just sort of like once Stranger Things done, like what are they going to have? What I will say, thing about like in terms of why I think Disney Plus is doing a lot better than Netflix too. So I just read it. I read another thing the other day that apparently Disney Plus is taking off a lot of
stuff off the platform. Not a lot of stuff. They're taking off a few.
Disappears, yeah.
Yeah, they made a list, and the list I read is like, hey, it's because this series or movie or whatnot are not getting the views. They realized they goofed up, so they probably
But how much work and server space is it to just keep shows and TV shows on the platform? You know, like, is it really that much of an issue? Like, YouTube has so much content on; they don't delete stuff off of there. Like, why delete stuff off your streaming service? You know?
I don't know. Well, let's just say they just announced that they're going to be getting rid of Willow, the series Willow,
the one that they just put out like 2 years ago.
Not 2 years ago. A few months ago.
Is that how long? It was only that long ago?
It hasn't been that long, but unfortunately the show compared to the movie is just so bad because they just made it into a Degrassi,
right?
Kids whining and bitching.
That's the other thing too. Is like, you know, and it's not solely Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever, but like a lot of the streaming services are trying to do these sort of like nostalgia shows. Like, what content from the 80s and 90s can we pull and sort of do a newer version of it? And then they're usually garbage. I'm really hoping that the new season of Clone High is going to be really good, because that show is great.
But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, you know, if I also think too is like what Netflix did is that it was like almost like every few months I kept on hearing a new Netflix original was coming out, and it's just like, haven't these guys figured maybe they need to take their time on the one they're currently working on instead?
That's what I mean. Like, they're going for that shotgun approach, right? It's just like, let's create all this stuff. Let's hit every genre. Let's hit every potential audience member, and just see what sticks. But it's like, why not just make a good show? You know, like, do your market research, do your test groups or whatever, and figure out what it is people actually want to watch and make a good show.
And for me personally, I believe the Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance could have been like that next good show. Is that the name of
the second season?
No, that's what the series was called.
Okay.
The series was called Age of Resistance. Could have been that next one, but again, they kept on, because I'm pretty sure like a couple other shows were coming out, like Netflix originals were coming out that same year, and is just kind of like, how do they have the time to do all of this? How are they focusing?
Well, didn't they go like a couple $1 billion into debt to produce a bunch of stuff? That was like a whole thing like 7 or 8 years ago. They like took on like tons and tons of debt in order to produce lots of content. And I mean, there's tons of Netflix movies that were filmed here and stuff, and it's just like, it's almost like the new Hallmark movie, really. It's sort of just like, take what's his name from Avatar, put him into another action movie, and boom, you got the next big Netflix hit.
I don't know. I'm just a little disappointed. You know how, you know, as a viewer, you know, it's very heartbreaking seeing these shows that I love to watch, or shows that I was going to love to probably watch, and then they just, you know.
Well, now I think about it, there is a second season of Squid Game coming, apparently. That was great. I don't know if you watched that one.
I haven't had the opportunity to. Like, I know, and that is definitely a show that I am definitely down to watch. It's just, I don't know, it's... I just haven't.
You don't like reading subtitles?
No, that's not it. It's just I just haven't had a chance. We just haven't had a chance to, right? Like, but I don't know. Like, what I think Netflix really needs to do is, once Stranger Things is done, they really need to honestly reconsider what's going to be our next big show, and maybe just focus on that show.
They have to figure out a way to actually like really compete with Disney and all these other streaming services now, because it's just going to be like, because Disney has this entire back catalog of great movies and TV shows and whatnot that they can easily just put up whenever they want,
because they have the money too.
Yeah, so got to stay relevant somehow.
Well, I do believe Netflix can still have the potential to make another.
Yeah,
the next. It doesn't have to be like Stranger Things. It could be like any kind of crazy show, but like they need to be able to just focus solely on that, and then, you know, I get it. They want to try making as much content to make themselves relevant, but I don't think they're not really relevant anymore. It's Disney Plus is becoming more relevant. Amazon Prime,
Prime Video, yeah.
Prime Video,
pretty good.
Yeah, Prime Video. You know, like look at the Rings of Power. Though, say what you will about the show, they did attempt to make something crazy, and regardless if you loved it or hate it, people still watch the whole thing, and people will still watch the second one, because I think it's like Amazon Prime seems to be just focusing on that one instead of like doing
exactly. They focus on a few shows that are really good, and they make it's the same with Apple TV as well. Like all their content is generally pretty good because they focus on 2 or 3 shows and just really put the effort into making those shows the best they can be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe Netflix just needs to go back to mailing out DVDs to people.
like what they did with Blockbuster.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on this one. Let us know your thoughts on Netflix, what you think the future of it's going to be, and whether or not you're still subscribed. Drop it in the comments below.
Please like and subscribe.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.